Welcome back to the Anfield Exchange, and social media is going into meltdown. Alexander Isak wants to leave Newcastle and it looks like Liverpool is the destination for him. So he hasn't travelled on the pre-season tour to the Far East. The club put out a statement saying that he had a thigh injury and that's why he wouldn't be travelling. We all know how that works. Look, us as Liverpool fans, we know how it works. Coutinho did it. It's definitely going to happen that Alexander Isak will leave Newcastle. Whether he comes to Liverpool or not, we'll have to wait and see. Surprisingly, the main source of this news and the man that's been on it from the offset, Indy Kyler. I mean, when did that happen? He's been reporting on these Alexander Isak. He's been giving updates, and it looks like everything he's saying is coming true. Liverpool, we know from last week that Liverpool were prepared to submit a bid for 120 million if he got an inkling that Alexander Isak was available. We got the message that he was not for sale, so then Liverpool moved quickly. We brought in Hugo Ekitike, spent 69 million plus add-ons on him. But now the news is coming out that Alexander Isak wants to leave the club. It's the news that Liverpool fans have been waiting for. It's the news that Newcastle fans have been dreading. What I find a little bit interesting about this is the timing of it. So, listen, Liverpool would have made contact with Alexander Isak's agent. If Alexander Isak and his agent had come out and said, look, we're going to force a move, we're going to say we want to leave the club, why would Liverpool have not waited and put the money in Alexander Isak? Well, for me, the simple answer is they wanted both players. I think, look, obviously the tragic passing of Diogo Jota left us very short in that position. Darwin Núñez is going to be sold. So you've got now potentially Alexander Isak with Ekitike to play backup. And from that point of view, I mean, it's fantastic for Liverpool. We are going to spend a lot of money getting this done, probably around 200 million to get both of them signed. I think in terms of the timing and why it worked so well for Liverpool is we've just had the announcement that Arsenal have completed the signing of Gyökeres. So they were probably our main competition within Europe because they were in the market for a striker as well. And there has been links with Isak to Arsenal in the past, but now that's dead in the water because obviously we've just brought in Gyökeres. Obviously, Man City have got Haaland, Real Madrid have got Mbappe, Bayern have got Harry Kane. I think the only other team that potentially would like to have Alexander Isak in the starting lineup would potentially be Barcelona. They've got Lewandowski. Obviously, he's getting towards the latter stages of his career. The problem with Barcelona is they haven't got the money, and that's part of the reason why they dropped out of the Luis Diaz deal with Liverpool, because they knew they couldn't give Liverpool what we were asking for. So they opted for Marcus Rashford instead. So, look, Barcelona would have probably been an option based on the players they've got in the squad, but that's not going to happen now because the money that Newcastle are quoting, then Barcelona can't afford to do that. We've seen issues in the past with Dani Olmo being registered, and I think there were another player, I can't remember who it was. And that leaves really Man United. We all know Man United are not in this. Alexander Isak wouldn't want to go to Man United. Man United can't afford to pay the money. So it pretty much gives Liverpool a clear run from all the teams that are within Europe. Now, the Saudis are a potential threat. And the reason I say that is the Saudis have got endless pits of money. And potentially, if they throw enough money at Isak, he might go. I don't believe Isak would want to go to Saudi. He's 26 years old. He's just about to enter the prime of his career. And I just think Saudi is probably the wrong move for him at the minute. That's possibly something he might be looking at later on in his career. So yeah, between us and the Saudis, and look, there's only going to be one winner, I think. I think it's going to be Liverpool if Alexander Isak does leave. There's another aspect to this as well. Alexander Isak might be having these conversations. If we believe the reports that we're seeing in social media, Alexander Isak wants around £300,000 a week. Newcastle are willing to offer around £150,000 a week, which obviously there's quite a big difference there in terms of what Newcastle are willing to pay and what Alexander Isak wants. Now, for me personally, I think if you're valuing a player at £150 million, like Newcastle did last week when we approached them, you've got to pay a player what he deserves. And I think this all feeds into why he belongs at Liverpool. If you think back to last summer, we brought in Chiesa and we give him 150 grand a week. That's the salary he was on. And he probably played about 82 minutes worth of football last season. So it just goes to show his levels to it. Our I don't even want to say backup because he wasn't really even that, was he? But a player that we brought in, we can give 150,000 no problem. We've got players like Salah, Van Dijk, Florian Wirtz, allegedly Hugo Ekitike, all on big salaries now. So yeah, we've got the financial infrastructure to be able to make this deal happen. Speaking of Ekitike, I mean, how do we work that one? Because we saw a lot from Newcastle fans on social media how they were going to be playing two strikers and Isak and Ekitike, and now it looks like we're ending up with none of them. How do we play together? Well, I think one thing I will say about the players that Liverpool have brought in this summer is there's a lot of versatility to it, and although Ekitike is predominantly number 9, when he does play as number 9, he tends to veer off towards the left-hand side quite a lot. So there's always that option to play him out on the left, even though he's not a natural winger. Don't forget, obviously, we've got Cody Gakpo out there. We've got Rio Nugamoa coming through, who could potentially play a big part this season. Florian Wirtz can also sort of feed out onto the left. He does that naturally when he's playing football as well. So we've got options out there. And if we can bring Isak in, we'll have, obviously, Isak, Ekitike. Again, there's been murmurs that Florian Wirtz may play as a false 9, so you've got options there. And look, we all know Mo Salah on the other side. You don't need a backup for Mo Salah. Mo Salah's going to play every game possible next year. But when he goes away to AFCON at Christmas time, we've also got a lot of people forget that Dominic Szoboszlai played out on the right wing for Leipzig before we signed him. So he's potentially somebody that can play there. You've got Jeremy Frimpong that's been brought in. He's been playing there for the Netherlands. So yeah, we've got plenty of versatility in the front line. I personally think if we bring in Alexander Isak, I don't think we bring in a winger. I know there's been a lot of reports to Rodrigo, but yeah, I don't think we bring in a winger. I think that for me, the perfect transfer window now, we've already pretty much got there. We bring in Isak, we get Konate's contract signed, and potentially bring in a centre-back to help with the cover, whether that's Mark Guehi or whether that's somebody slightly younger. I'd be fine with that, and I think if that happens, we've probably had the perfect transfer window. Certainly the best transfer window since I've been alive. I've never seen anything like this. It's unbelievable, and it just goes to show how well the club has been run over the years. So FSG came in 2010, and there's a lot of people saying that FSG haven't spent any money. In the 15 years, they've spent around 1.5 billion, which works out about 100 million a transfer window. 100 million a year. So they have spent money, but now we're really, really going for it. And I think it's clear to see that we're looking to dominate not only the English league, but we're looking to dominate in Europe as well. So yeah, it's never been there's never been a better time to be a Liverpool fan, has there? In terms of obviously what we're doing now, it's reminiscent of I grew up watching Real Madrid when they had the likes of Luis Figo, Zidane, Ronaldo, Raul, David Beckham, Roberto Carlos, those sort of players. And they were, rightly so, they were the Galacticos. They're far from that now. Real Madrid are not that. They're not that team anymore. And I think it's reminiscent for me what Liverpool are doing now. We are building a team of superstars, and it certainly looks that way. If you were to put our best 11 players on a bit of paper, I mean, it's unbelievable. I must admit, when Trent left, I think there were a lot of us that were disappointed, a lot of us that were angry, a lot of us that were hurt. And I'm going to be honest, since the first time, since the first signing where we brought Frimpong in, I haven't even given him a second thought. And To be fair, I love what Liverpool are doing now, especially with his timing. Trent's probably sat over there in Madrid and looking back, thinking, "Wow, how has this happened?" I'm not saying he's going to regret his decision. Look, he plays for Real Madrid. He's going to go over there. He's going to win some trophies. He wants a Ballon d'Or. Again, we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, I must admit, Liverpool are really building a Galactico squad now, a super squad. And yeah, I mean, Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, John Emery all deserve credit for what they're doing. I remember when, I think it was back in December, and we were just waiting for some sort of announcements for Salah, for Van Dijk, for Trent to sign the contracts, and we were not best pleased with what we were seeing. But I mean, now we've more than made up for that. We've more than made up for it, and yeah, I just think it's unbelievable. And what I find interesting as well is, obviously, when Van Dijk signed the contracts, he's always said Liverpool were looking at a big summer. So how in depth did they go with Van Dijk? Did they go with Salah? Did they go with Trent? Was Trent aware that these players were going to be coming in? Was he aware that we'd be spending this much money and strengthening the way we have? I'm not too sure. I think maybe Edwards and maybe Richard Hughes have been a little bit sneaky there and sort of got the grasp that Trent wanted to leave and just sort of left it at that. And do you know what I mean? We're not going to try and convince you to stay. If you want to stay and be part of it, we got some surprises in store. But yeah, unbelievable. Alexander Isak could be the next one through the door. Again, it's going to be tough with Newcastle because, I mean, Newcastle have to sell, really, don't they? He's too valuable of an asset to not sell him and to keep him as an unhappy player. So they have to sell him. But if the only clubs coming in for him are Liverpool and Saudis, and Isak doesn't want to go to Saudi, then yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's I'm not saying it's going to show a lack of ambition. I think it shows the levels that are in the Premier League and the gaps. As you go further up the league, the gaps get bigger between the teams. But yeah, unbelievable what Liverpool are doing. And if we can get this Isak deal over the line as well, I mean, I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Do you think Isak will come? Do you think we'll pay the money? If we do you think he'll be a success? How do you think him and Ekatike are going to line up together? Because if I were to put my team down on paper for the Community Shield against Crystal Palace, I don't think I'd know where to start. I wouldn't have a clue because there's so much variety to this team now. And yeah, I mean, it's frightening. It actually is frightening. But yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.